up on what's happening in Ukraine. Ukraine has now shared a draft document on the security guarantee with both NATO and non-NATO nations, including the United States, Britain, Germany, France, and Turkey. Earlier, remember, Israel and Ireland had offered to be the security guarantor. And now news coming in of how, as Russia steps up assault, as it's ramping up its military offensive, increasing the military activity in Donbass, and carrying out bombings in Kherson, Mykolaiv and Odessa. This is what is being maintained by Ukraine, a long-standing demand of security guarantee that has been put out by Ukraine time and again, wherein it has said that it is ready to discuss adopting neutral status. It's ready to discuss neutral status to reach Russia peace deal. Now news coming in on the same that it's shared a draft document on security guarantee with both NATO and non-NATO nations, including the United States, Germany, Britain, France, and Turkey. Also, quick backgrounder on how Israel and Ireland had already offered to be the security guarantor, something that has been Ukraine's long-standing demand as far as the two conditions being put out by Ukraine to reach peace deals are concerned.
Well, on the front of the international security guarantee that Ukraine is seeking, this has been the demand, a long-standing demand over the last few weeks as the negotiations have been taking place. But what we have seen in return is the United States as well as the United Kingdom haven't really shown the kind of satisfaction over this entire matter. In fact, they've taken a step back. In fact, the kind of statements that have come in from the US officials and the United Kingdom officials is that they are still not very sure whether they are in a position to give that kind of international guarantee that Ukraine is seeking for. Now, what exactly is this guarantee? Remember what Ukraine is time and again citing, saying that in the past also there have been multiple agreements, like, for example, the Budapest Memorandum, which both the countries had signed. But despite that kind of a memorandum on paper, what has really happened is that they are still looking at a full-scale invasion that's taking place in their country. In order to prevent that kind of a situation, they are saying that this time, if there is any sort of an agreement or a treaty that is signed between Ukraine and Russia, they want other countries to give the kind of guarantee that if another kind of aggression is faced by Ukraine, what is it that these countries are going to do? In fact, President Zelensky has been advocating that within 24 hours, countries should be acting if any country faces an aggression like what Ukraine has faced. So keeping that in mind, of course, this is an important criteria, because remember, they have stepped down from their initial demands with regards to a NATO membership. Time and again on the negotiating table, they have made it abundantly clear that they are no longer looking for a NATO membership, primarily because the NATO countries haven't shown that kind of an inclination towards bringing in Ukraine into their fold. That's the reason why Ukraine is saying that right now they're not looking forward to that. Secondly, as far as the neutral status is concerned, to which also time and again Ukraine has said that they are open to a situation when they are not going to align with any particular bloc. And that is the reason why somewhere down the line, after the sixth round of talks that took place in Istanbul, you heard the Russian negotiators saying that they have welcomed these developments that have taken place from the Ukrainian side. That's the reason why at least both sides are sitting together, and they are saying that right now even Russia is not putting the kind of ultimatums that they had when they had initially started. But having said that, in the backdrop of all kinds of negotiations that are taking place, remember, on the ground the situation has changed. There has been a tactical shift from the Russian side. They are now focusing on the eastern side. A short while back, there was an information that came in from the General Staff of Armed Forces here in Ukraine, where they are saying that there is an increased focus that the Russians have put as far as the eastern part of Ukraine is concerned, and down south, where there has been intense battle that is going on. The General Staff of Armed Forces have now confirmed that there is an attempt that the Russians are making to encircle the eastern region of Ukraine, which would involve Luhansk, Donetsk, and for that matter, down south in Odessa. These are places which the Russians are trying to encircle. The reason being is very simple, that this is the very area where the Russians are seeing a goal, or rather they are seeing a victory, strategic victory in these very places. Because remember, up north, large parts of Ukraine, they haven't really achieved the strategic gain that they wanted. And that's the reason why we're looking at a retreat from these very areas. Kiev being one of the biggest example where they have failed miserably, and that's the reason why they're retreating back into Belarus. But having said that, for how long would the Russians Russians really go back is not very sure, because there could be a possibility, if you go by the intelligence reports of the United States, they're saying there's a possibility that in the days to come, once they go back inside Belarus, there is a possibility that they could remobilize and they could refit certain of their equipments, and then again go ahead with the kind of the thrust that they need at this stage. So that's what the focus is at this point in time. It remains to be seen how things really change, but one thing cannot be denied. Right now, the focus is purely on the eastern side of Ukraine, especially the Donbas region.